afternoon. My name is Jennifer Dunn. I'm a faculty member here in the School of Urban Studies and Planning. And along with two of my colleagues, Chris Monsieur and Rob Bertini, we organized this weekly Friday seminar. And today, well, before I introduce our speaker, I will remind everyone in the room that if you are going to ask questions, you need to use the microphone in front of you. Hopefully there is one in front of you, and hold the touch. It's not really a button, the touch area, and keep the red light lit while you're asking the question so the people who are watching on the web can hear the question as well as the answer. And do you have your microphone?
I have a mic
Okay.
on.
So with that, I will proceed with our introduction. Today we have with us Linda Ginenthal. I knew I was going to screw up.
Ginenthal. Nobody gets it right.
From the city of Portland, from their Portland's Department of Transportation, and she's a program manager in their Transportation Options Group. And I'm very excited to have her today because she's going to be talking about this Eastside Hub project that they've been working on that I think has some very interesting results that we want to hear about. It could be a model for other programs throughout Portland and beyond. So maybe some people beyond will listen to it. So without further ado.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for inviting me. As I said, my name is Linda Ginenthal, and I work for the Office of Transportation for the City of Portland. And our division is transportation options. What we do is we encourage people to bike and walk and take transit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through why we chose to do the Getting Around Portland Eastside Hub program. What is it about individualized marketing that makes it something imperative for the city to do to get people on their bikes and walking and riding transit. Talk about how we did it, you know, what actually the Eastside Hub program is, and then what were the results of the campaign and the lessons we learned from the campaign. So I'm just going to go right in. If you have questions, raise your hand and feel free to interrupt. And again, make sure you use the mic. And if we're going over on time a little bit, I might cut off some of the questions. So I'll just move ahead. So this is the mission for the entire Office of Transportation. As you can see, the work that we do in transportation options around Getting Around Portland is really an integral part. There's a community partnership shaping a livable city, and we do advocate not just build roads and fill potholes, make our streets smoother and safer. So we're right in the thick of what is important about transportation. And for our options, as I said, we use a broad, what we want people to do is when they think about going someplace, we actually want them to think about biking, walking, transit, carpool, anything other than drive alone as their first choice, as that is the way that they would go normally. It's convenient and appropriate way to go. So we focus on biking and walking in transit. We also have other programs that work on carpool. We mostly work with partnerships there. So these are our Eastside Hub goals. What are we going to actually accomplish? So we want to reduce the drive-alone trips because, frankly, it's kind of lonely. You don't want to drive by yourself. It's really not that fun. Well, actually, sometimes it's fun, but we want to reduce the drive-alone trips. That's our primary concern. That's our primary bottom-line measure. We also want to increase biking and walking and transit and carpool trips. We understand the unique role that transportation plays in increasing health, and we want to make sure that if people are going to do these things, that they're going to do it safely. So we focus on safety. And then a core part of our messages and the activities that we engage in is the shop locally, local business. We want to promote the economics, the positive economics of not driving your car, because there are quite a number of them. So what we did is we set out that we wanted to reach everybody in this target area. We wanted to reach them at least 3 times. So even if you never left the house, if you never participated in anything that we ever did, we would reach you 3 times. And in fact, we actually reached people about 5 times. So we really did reach our target audience that we wanted to get. And most all of the contacts, actually all of the contacts happened from April through November. So it's a pretty long campaign. What we are attempting to do here is not a quick in and out, this is something you ought to do. We're really creating relationships with people. We want to start a dialogue and continue a dialogue with people for the 6-month period. So that was our goal, to at least for the people who who weren't interested in participating, at least they'd hear about it. Then for those who were actually interested in our program, they would be contacted about 10 times. So we had newsletters and door hangers and materials that they requested. Plus, we were out in the community with tabling events and all different kinds of activities, which I'll mention all of the different. Well, actually, I'm not going to mention all of them because there's too many of them. There were 17 different components to this campaign, so I'm going to go over most of them, but not all of them, because we only have an hour and a half. So we really want to do a direct marketing and outreach to individuals. This is not a program where we spend time and energy paying for ads, billboards, and those kinds of activities. Because what we know about individualized marketing is that we're getting people interested. We're not pushing information out to people. What we do is we ask them, what are you interested in? What would help you in thinking about your next trip and getting on a bike or taking a walk instead of driving? We really want to change their actual behavior. Now, if you just see a billboard that says, once a week, go and do some kind of other alternative, what that really is about is it reinforces what you're doing. It makes you feel good about what you're doing if you are taking alternative transportation, but it actually doesn't necessarily change your behavior. It gives you ideas, but it doesn't actually give you the tools you need to change your behavior. And when I go over the results, you'll see that we actually can chart whether or not we've changed people's behavior, and we have. So we really do want hands-on, working with individuals, creating a dialogue, and that's what individualized marketing is all about. So where we chose, each year, Transportation Options decides on a particular target area. And we usually follow infrastructure. So the year before we did the Eastside Hub, we focused on North Portland. Now, what's happening in North Portland that year? There was a MAX line that was put in. So, a lot of people had a new option. We wanted to show it off. Here we had significant partners that really wanted to play. We had a center neighborhood was instrumental in recruiting us to come to this neighborhood. And Providence Medical Center is in this target area, and they were very interested in supporting our activities and also working with the neighborhoods to cut down on local traffic. So, bordered by around 30th to 82nd, I-84 to Woodward, which is about 5 blocks north of Powell. So it's a pretty big area. It's got about 20,000 residents and 20,000 households, about 50,000 residents, and these are the neighborhoods and business districts. What we wanted to also do is to make sure, again, because we wanted to promote the local economy, we want to make sure that we've got good business districts, places to go. I mean, if you're going to go by bike, you've got to go someplace. So we wanted to make sure that there was some place to go for any of the places that we were going to pick. So the first contact that we did with people is a newsletter. So all 20,000 households got a newsletter, and introducing them to the hub, saying here's some things that you'll be looking for in the next several months, and look out for an order form that we're going to be sending in the mail in the next several weeks. So introduction, very festive, very nice piece of material that everyone got a chance to look at. And we sent this out to 20,000 households, right? It's got my phone number on it. I did not get one crabby phone call from this mailing, which is kind of remarkable for a program where you're sending something to 20,000 households. So we know we're on to something. People really like this stuff. So just an anecdote. Then we send them out an order form. And what the order form is literally an order form. You can put your name in the hat. And you can check off only the items you're interested in. We do not want to bury you in bicycling information if you figure, I'm never going to get on a bike. It's just not something I do. Or, I'm handicapped and I actually can't ride a bike. We don't want to actually push out information that people don't want. So they get to choose different kinds of information. Information on walking, biking, transit, and a variety of other things, which I will go over. If you send your order in now, you can get fabulous prizes. At the bottom of the order sheet, you can see that people could pick an umbrella, a tote bag, which I happen to have a handy sample of here. This was the Travel Smart bag that we gave out to people who requested them, or a book on some great bike rides in the Portland metropolitan area. So they ordered what they wanted, and we also had some information for seniors up here. If and somebody needed it in large print, we provided to them in large print. So this is the area that we chunked up into 10 districts. The reason we did this is because if we sent out 20,000 order forms, we would get buried in orders. So we every week for 10 weeks we sent out 2,000 mailers. So and obviously we started in district number 1, and this is the information that you could order here. This is for the 10-Toe Express. This was the walking campaign. You were able to get a southeast Portland walking map. And on that walking map, it had bus information, it had bike information, but it also had handy things like where are the water fountains in the area, where are the restrooms, where are all the business corridors that you can walk to. We had a scale on there showing them how many steps. We had a scale on there showing them how many miles, but people don't really know how far things are. So we also wanted to put the steps, and we put the time. Because what we find is people don't really know how far a half a mile actually is in terms of time, and a half a mile is about 10 minutes if you walk at my speed, as opposed to somebody else who might do it in less time than that. So, so they got the walking map. They got a schedule of walks. We did a number of walks in the neighborhood. There was a coupon book so that you could shop locally. There were 50 some odd coupons, and we had one of the shops gave a tattoo. You could come in and get a discount on a tattoo, which we thought was kind of fun. And that actually got in the press, and we're like, we did? We offered wow, okay, that's fine. So we also had a Walking to Wellness brochure, and frankly, that was very popular in our North Portland program. It was, so we put it in our 10-toe kit. It's got all different kinds of information about the connection between health and walking. So, again, they're in the neighborhood. We also sent out a list of classes, which I'll talk about. So this was all sponsored. This 10-Toe campaign was sponsored by Kaiser Permanente. And what's great about it is they get the connection between incorporating walking into your everyday activities. It's not just for fitness. It's not just something as an add-on. They know if people walk more, they're probably going to be healthier, and therefore they're going to be cheaper to take care of. So it helps them in their bottom line, but it also helps keep the community healthy. They're a very community-minded health facility. So we also had a biking kit, and this was sponsored by Providence Medical Center. Again, they were in the neighborhood and were really interested in the health of the community as well as the health of the individuals. They also had a coupon book, which worked remarkably like the walking coupon book, only it said biking. They had biking maps and neighborhood biking maps. we had leg strap, we had a coupon for the bike shops, we had biking tips. So it's a huge pile of information. And you could get all this stuff a la carte, or you could get it in a nice, neat package. So we also had introduced our Women on Bikes program last year. So this was a series of clinics and rides for women only. What we know is that out of every 3 cyclists, only one of them is a woman. And it's sort of the canary in the coal mine thing. They're sort of the indicator species. If it's a really great place to bike, you're probably going to have at least as many women as men cycling. So we want to encourage more women to ride, and so that's what this program was all about. So they also could get TriMet schedules and information on bikes on TriMet and some transit tracker information, which I'll get into. The Honored Citizens Guide you can order. That's for the seniors who want to ride transit, and it actually was a great piece. It had an all-day ticket in there. FlexCar. How many of you are familiar with FlexCar? Okay, great. There was a discount for membership for FlexCar. There's a Carpool Match Northwest brochure. Basically, this is an online program where you can sign up online to find a carpool match a carpool partner. So it can be for a commute trip, it can be for a school trip, it can be for pretty much anything you want. So it's just another way for you to figure out how you can carpool. We had brochures on smart commute mortgage. Basically, if you buy a house in an area that's transit friendly, which the hub is transit friendly, you could essentially afford more house because it's in this kind of a district. So that was a brochure about that. And as I said, we had a series of smart living classes. There were a few other things listed on the resources. So we gathered all this information up, and we delivered it by bicycle. So 23% of all of those 20,000 households actually ordered something, either called us up, went online, or sent back the order form. And we were able to deliver about 30 or 40 packets like this in a Burley trailer or some other kind of trailer. I'm not sure they were all Burley trailers. I think they were Burley trailers. But, we had a nice tag on it to introduce people to the hub, and we knocked on their doors and let them know. We got a tremendously positive response. Frankly, the other reason we did, besides biking our talk, which always sounds a little weird, it was cheaper to do it by bike, because if you mail this, it's going to be quite expensive. So we wanted to do something inexpensive and also showed people that you don't need a car for every kind of delivery. This was the hub, and this will show you week by week what the returns looked like. So it was a nice smattering from all over the hub area. We got a very good return from all over. And it turned out to be about 4,600 people ordering things. This is the final return. Our highest area was in the southeast section, for the southwest section of this area, and there's quite a number of businesses here. There's quite a lot of activity going on in that neighborhood, so it made a lot of sense that we would get strong returns here. And our weakest area was this area. There's not a lot of business activities. There are a lot more older homes, and it's just not as active a community. So it sort of made sense. But we still got 15% of folks here to order something. And of course, we weren't going to shove it down their throats. I mean, this program is not about pushing things out people don't want. It's about giving them the tools that they need. So what did they order? Walking was the most popular because walking is the easiest to do. Biking second, transit, and then the other information. What was interesting about the information that people chose is we always think of the cyclist, like somehow that we're a special brand of human and we're not interested in anything else. But and we are sort of a special brand of human, but people aren't. They don't go and do their trips, they don't think about their trips just one mode at a time. I mean, they do it one mode at a time, but they don't think about, I'm just a cyclist and that's all I'm going to do. I'm just a walker, that's all I'm going to do. They really do want a combination of information. So that is the bulk of people wanted more than just one mode. In addition to all of the material that we got out, we did a program called Get to Work, by bike, by bus, by foot, by Max, because get to work is kind of rude otherwise. And what we did was we contacted all the small businesses in the area, and 75 businesses played along and wanted to get information to their customers and to their employees about getting to work and getting to their shops by biking and walking in transit. So we gave out kits and other materials to them. We provided, let me get to my cheat sheet. We had 75 businesses participate. 13 of them started a passport program where they purchased bus passes for all of their employees. So that's a significant increase for TriMet to get more people on transit. Frees up the parking for their customers instead of having all day somebody parking in front of the business and not being able to access that good parking space. We also got 22 new bike racks installed as part of this program. So we looked at businesses as well as residents. We also did our summer cycle program, 18 summer cycle rides, slow-paced, really slow-paced. We did about 10 miles in the 2-hour period, which is really slow. I mean, you can hardly keep your bike upright and like continuing to move at that speed. But what we wanted to demonstrate on these rides is, one, it's fun. It's fun. And that it's not that far to get from point A to point B in these neighborhoods. Showed them easy ways to get downtown, some beautiful parks. We did a tour of heritage trees, just really getting people to be out on their bikes in a safe and easy environment for them. So this was the Sweet Summer Cycle, which is always our most popular ride, and we go from sweet shop to sweet shop sampling goodies, so it's very popular. And then we spend the rest of the summer working off what we have gained during our donut spree. So we had 300 participants in that program. We also had our 10-toe walks, which we had 11 neighborhood walks, 200 participants, and we had a pup crawl. We really wanted to do a pub crawl, but we really couldn't do a pub crawl, so we did a pup crawl. And great, lots of dogs, and it was really fun. We also did historic homes tours. Again, wanting to show people the neighborhood, wanting them to get out and do some fitness walkings. These were Saturdays and Thursday evenings. Saturday mornings and Thursday evenings. We did our smart living classes. We did some biodiesel class, which was very popular. We had how to bike commute, how to shop by bike. We had a healthy cooking class with the David Yudkin from Hot Lips Pizza, which was kind of fun. Again, more about tying transportation, healthy living. We gave out helmets to 390 kids as part of our events. We've tried to focus on low-income and immigrant families as part of this program. And then, of course, we had our Women on Bikes 10 rides. Again, the clinics were focused on some of the basics as well as learning some of the rules of the road and just having conversations, and it was also social. So it was a very positive program where we had 113 participants in the first year of the program. We had an article in the Oregonian at the end of, just before the last clinic, and we had, what was it, Janice, 50 calls? 150 phone calls. So we know that this is something that we've struck a nerve here and that people really want this information. So, and it's exceedingly fun. We also did senior strolls every Wednesday morning. They started off with some kind of senior joke, which was really great. And those were 1 mile neighborhood strolls, very positive. We also helped out on the Get Lit program, where we hand Jeff Bernard, who is an Alice B. Toe Clips Bicycle Transportation Alliance awardee, got an award for giving out lights to people who didn't have them in the dark, who looked like they needed them. So we helped out with that program by buying some of the lights. And then another part that we added to this campaign was our transit tracker program, where TriMet has this great tool where you can call up and not just find out when your bus is scheduled to come, but when it's actually going to be at the bus stop, which is brilliant. It's like the buses are attached to GPS, and so you can actually call up and find out when the bus is coming to that stop. So several people, one person in particular, identified the closest two bus stops to each individual who ordered something from some kind of transit information, found the two closest bus stops, and we sent them their stop ID number and instructions on how to use Transit Tracker. So that it was a real personalized service that we were able to provide for people. So that was kind of fun. So what does it all cost? Well, it cost about $530,000. That includes 4.25 full-time staff equivalent. There are more people, but not full-time. Plus, we had our 3 bike delivery people who worked with us. That is, when you think about what you could, how much $500,000 would buy you in ad space, in billboards, or in other kinds of outreach types of material, we're kind of a cheap date, frankly. We don't, and because it gets positive results, it's money worth spending. It's a lot, but it's definitely worth spending. And we tried to find ways in which we could cut back on costs but still keep our services pretty high. And as I said, Kaiser and Providence were major sponsors. We also had grant money from Jobs Access that helped us on this campaign. So we set out pretty ambitious goals. We wanted to involve 40% of the households, and we actually had 35% of people engaging with us. And what I mean by that is that they actually ordered information from us. They participated in our bikes, rides, walks, or strolls, or some other thing, some of the activities that we had planned, or they came up and got something from us at a tabling event in the hub area. So I would say 35% is a pretty darn good return. I don't know what other programs can have as actual participants 35% of the households in an area. It's pretty remarkable. And as I said, 5,200 households actually ended up on our mailing list. So when we did a tabling event, we actually didn't capture names. So that's where the 2,000 names came from of people we didn't get their names. So pretty good. We distributed. I tried to add this all up, and I couldn't. It was so much paper. It made me a little crazy. But we sent out about 140,000 pieces of mail. Not pieces of mail. I lied. Brochures or maps or something. 140,000 pieces. Plus, we gave out 4,300 goodies, substantial goodies, which is pretty good. So how did we measure our success? Well, how did we go about? So that's sort of laying out of the program. We then spent a fair amount of our energy in looking at how well did we do? What was their actual results? Did we actually get people out of their cars? So we contracted with Davison, Hibbets, and Migdal, professional polling firm, and they interviewed 300 households before, 300 afterwards. We wanted to make sure that we had a control group and a test group so we could really find out what happened in our target area. And those surveys were in March and in September, pre and post. We also did an informal mailing out to all of the participants, the 5,200 on our mailing list, to find out. This wasn't going to be terribly scientific because people say they do things and they don't necessarily, they may not exactly do them. And so it's really we wanted to get some qualitative information about the programs and how they felt about it. We also did some hard counts with biking and walking. We videotaped intersections, which was really fun to watch on TV. That was good. So if any of you are interested in volunteering to watch TV, we'd love to have you at some other point. We also took a look at how many people logged in and signed up for our carpool partner to check our measurements. So this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to decrease drive-alone trips by 8%. We wanted to increase walking by 10, biking by 5, transit 5, and carpool by 3. Modest, but good goals. We figured we could go ahead and do that. What we actually did was we decreased drive-alone trips by 8.6%, which is pretty remarkable when you consider there's a metro there was a congestion study that was just put out by Metro and the Portland Business Alliance. They were looking at spending something like $10.8 billion to reduce peak congestion by 2.8%. I was like, I just want 1 million. I just want one. I'll just take one. Let's see if we can do that. So we increased the mode split for walking by 7%, biking 23%, transit by 40%. The transit number I'm not that 100% convinced of. And then carpooling, while it didn't because it's it's a pretty small number that do the carpooling. And as the biking number on the surveys were kind of small, so we wanted to check that against some hard data. And that's our biking number comes from our hard data, not from the surveys, because it's sort of a subset of a subset of a subset. You just get so small you can't really measure the differences. And we did have more registrations for carpool. So this is what it looked like. In the control group, somehow they decided to drive more. We don't get that, but they did. And in the test area, they drove less, which is kind of what we wanted. Then what that looks like is we increased the environmentally friendly modes by 46.7%. And these were our bike counts. We looked at 9 different intersections to figure out how we did. That was the video watching. That was fun. And what people said in our surveys, we asked them whether or not they felt like they were driving more, driving less, or about the same number of times. Because you kind of want to check and see if our data, what they think they did and what we know they did, because we asked them, where did you go? We actually took travel diaries from folks. And the before and after shows us that they say that they're actually driving less. So that's self-reported. It's good. It sounds like something happened. We know something happened in the hub. So this was our follow-up survey to the 5,000, and this was, we got a pretty good return, about 20%. And the information that we had gained from our Davis and Hibbett's survey tells us that oftentimes people think that you should focus on the work trip, changing the work trip. It's a captive audience. We can find employers. We can talk to workers about getting to work by bike and by walking. What we find is that only 20% of trips are are work trips. It's not a whole heck of a lot, and it's probably a more difficult trip to shift because there's dress information, there's dress barriers, there's distance barriers. Usually when you're shopping or leisure, you can probably find a lot of that stuff pretty close to home, and especially in this area. So just wanted to lay out that, a lot of the programs that are done on travel demand management focus on that work trip. We focus on the home base trip that isn't necessarily a work trip. And, they increase their walking Shopping, fitness, and errands. What a surprise. They, and again, this is self-reported, and they say they did 2.93 trips extra by walking, which is actually not too off base. The way that we do the calculation is we know that on average people take about 3.2 trips a day. If you multiply that out, it's about 22 trips a week, right? If you want to reduce, if you reduce it, the drive alone trips by 8.6, you're looking at 1 round trip a week. That's all we're changing. We're not changing people's major lifestyles. We're not asking anybody to throw their car into the dump. We are asking people to change 1 trip a week, maybe 2. Actually, a trip in TDM, travel demand management, a trip is 1 way. So we actually want to change 2 trips a week. So not too monumental. And here they say that they're changing those trips. For biking, again, shopping, fitness, and errands are the ways that they feel like they've increased their biking. And we asked, okay, so did the hub have anything to do with it? Did our programs do anything? And they tell us yes. And partly they tell us yes because they're nice people and they want to say yes when we ask them these questions. But partly, you know, if it really hadn't made any difference and it didn't get on their radar screen, then I'm sure that number would have been a little bit less than 58%. So working for a city government, these kinds of unsolicited feedback are fairly monumental. So we put them up on the screen, and we're very happy about them. I got out my bike. I've gone on a walk. It's a wonderful thing the city is doing. I mean, you can't buy this, generally. You can't really buy this. The point that, I mean, there's our bottom line in doing these programs is the bottom line of how many trips did we remove, how many more biking trips, how many more walking trips. I mean, there's the bottom line that's measurable, and that's a very important measure of how well we do. But the other piece of our program is making people feel great about living in Portland and how they get around. And this program does that. It makes people feel really good. And so if you're giving them an opportunity, you're giving them ways and information that make them feel good, they're probably going to keep doing it. And while we don't have studies that show that this program is sustained over the course of several years, in other places where they've done similar programs, they do show that it is sustainable, that they maintain the decrease in drive alone trips in different areas. So just a couple more quotes just because we love them. What an amazing program. I love Portland. This is great resources. You made it easy. I hadn't ridden my bike in 15 years. Now we bike as a family. It's like, oh boy. I ordered the walk. You inspired me. Like, when is the last time a government bureaucrat inspired anybody? And we really motivated them to walk. I mean, this is our encouragement and education program right here. And this is a weird quote. I just thought it was a great packet. My favorite was the coupon booklet. I felt like I was getting a treat at the end of my walk. It was almost Pavlovian. Okay. And then this is our team. We had a fantastic team of people. The program manager is me. Our boss, Lavinia Gordon, who made sure that we all had the resources that we needed to get this done. Rich Cassidy is our 10-toe guy. Dan Bauer is responsible for that 10-week computerized program and plan. We called it the Bauer Plan. The Get to Work program. Barb Plumbers, our newsletter editor and distributed our helmets. Janice McDonald's did our Women on Bikes program and organized our what we call our Options Ambassadors, which is our volunteer program. Jason Rankins managed our Portland by Bicycle bicycle campaign, along with Jeff Smith, who is our map guy. And Donna Green did a lot of the work with the seniors. And then our 3 bike delivery folks, Timo Forsberg, Sarah Goforth, and Vanessa Harold. And I don't have on here, but we had an AmeriCorps volunteer working with us, Kathy Sieber, who's actually in the room, who managed and implemented the transit tracker insanity, where every individual got their bus stop information. It was beautiful. It was very nice. So that's the Eastside Hub project, and open it up for questions. Make sure you press your button when you ask a question. Yeah.
I was wondering if you have any plans to do follow-up information.
In that specific hub, no, we don't have the budget to do it. However, this year we are doing the Northeast Hub, and that area is from MLK to I-84, sort of. We carved out Lloyd Center because they've got a whole big project going on over there. 47th or 42nd, depending on if you're in Hollywood, we'd be sort of stuck in those neighborhoods, all the way up to the Columbia River. So it's about 24,000 households. We got a little bit bigger. We got a little bit of extra funding from the Water Bureau, who we're going to be distributing some of their conserve water kits, which are really heavy, so I'm worried about our bike delivery people. They're amazing kits, but so we're going on to the next area. We'll see. I mean, I'd love to find ways to follow up with people some more. But we're the city of Portland. We've gotten a lot of this stuff online. We've given a lot of people resources on ways to contact us. So I'm sure that people will be able to find us. What else? Yes.
I noticed on your map that stage by stage showed all the little dots show up. That a lot of them came from outside the hub.
A few, yeah.
Were those counted in the final figures at all? And how did you do that, if you did?
I don't know, actually. We usually what ended up happening is, we'd send something to Susie Smith, and she would bring it into work, or she would show it to a neighbor that lives a few blocks out of the hub, and we were nice. We at some point we were running out of materials. We distributed about 5,000 walking kits and 4,000 biking kits through the ordering and through the a few events that we did in the hub, but we sort of didn't. That we kept them on the list, but we didn't survey them. Yeah, and there weren't that many of them. Yes.
What was the control group? Or was it in the? It wasn't. Where was it? And when
Good question.
Survey them?
The survey control group was on either edges. So our control group and target area group where we surveyed was on the edges of the hub. So some people were outside, some people were inside, some people were outside, some people were inside on either ends. Because what we wanted to do is we wanted to survey folks who we figured were our, usual suspects. The inner southeast neighborhoods are the usual suspects. But we also wanted to find out on the other side of Mount Tabor, when you're riding your bike, we wanted to find out how they would respond and if there was a significant difference in what they thought. So we sort of chose those two areas and chose geographic areas inside and outside the hub. It's interesting. It was very interesting.
Following up, what were the types of questions on the phone survey, the Davis Hibbett's survey?
Primarily it was a travel diary. Where'd you go? How'd you go? How'd you get there? And then where did you go? How'd you go? It was, and we asked them like what they did yesterday. So it was fresh, somewhat fresh in everybody's mind, although do we all remember what we did yesterday? So it's a travel diary and then a few additional questions. This year we've actually refined our survey tool to really just focus in on the travel diaries, because it enables us to expand the number of surveys we're able to do and get less of the subset of a subset of a subset, so we can feel more confident in our numbers. The reason I'm so confident in the numbers that we got here in the Eastside Hub is because of our program in North Portland, and it's a similar program, much more intensive contacts, a lot of phone contact. That campaign got a 9% reduction in drive-alone trips. So, and they had much more change in the biking trips and walking trips, and about a similar change in transit. So I'm confident that these numbers aren't kind of off the wall, but we wanted to fix our instrument to make it a little bit tighter. The survey itself is not on the web, is it, Dan? No? No? Okay. Yes?
Just to follow up on the travel diary question, did you ask them to give their addresses of the trip ends, like where they went, so you could probably geocode that information and figure out like relationships or in distance and what kind of modes they took?
For this, no, we didn't. We didn't have the cash to do it. In our North Portland program, which is called Travel Smart, we did. And they went bananas. They actually checked to see if, in fact, when they said it was like 2 miles, if it actually was 2 miles. So they did a lot more, but their surveys were actually, it was a little bit more expensive. I mean, we had a limited budget, so really what we wanted to do was to get as much data that they said they went shopping, and we said, great. We didn't, put too fine a point on it. Other questions about the results or about the campaign? Or yes, Dan.
Linda, did you win any awards for this program?
Well, yes, we did win an award for this. Funny you should ask. That's so sweet. The Women in Transportation Seminar, we were Project of the Year, and was very exciting. And this kind of individualized marketing is modeled on our Travel Smart, which is a program that's been done all over the world with similar results in getting people out of their cars. And it's much more expensive. It's about double the price for about half of the contacts. So we tried to figure out, okay, of this model, what could we do to make this a success in the community, still get the kinds of results, but not spend as much money. And so we're not the inventors of it, but we sort of took a good thing and made it Portland. Yes? Either? Yes.
So you say that this year, 2006, you're doing North Portland. Mm-hmm. Are you guys going to be doing anything for 2007?
Yes. We actually will be able to cover the city in about 10 years. We started out in the Northwest when Streetcar came in, and we did a small campaign there. It was a mailer, and great response there. We went to Lentz when there was a tremendous amount of community activities going on there, both infrastructure and other agencies were working in the neighborhood. So while there's quite a bit of activity going on, we wanted to sort of say, okay, and this is what you can do too. So we worked in Lentz, and then we worked in North Portland. We're in the Eastside Hub last year, Northeast Hub. We'll probably, in 2007, we'll be in Selwood Woodstock. After that, we're looking at Southwest, which is going to be a little bit of a different animal because of the topography issues. Although, when you think about Hillsdale, sort of a core business district, it's 12 minutes to downtown. 12 minutes to downtown, that's nothing. I mean, that's like a quick jaunt from the east side. People tend to think Hillsdale the neighborhood is really far. It's really close. So, but we'll need to design things a little bit differently for there. And then we'll be following when the light rail line over by the 205 is going to go in. So we'll do a program once it's built. Because what we don't want to do is we don't want to go into a neighborhood where it's completely ripped up with construction. We're like, walk, have a good time, trip. So we follow the infrastructure. We also have a number of projects that are happening in the Northeast area. We're rebuilding some parts of Sandy. And the reason we wanted to do Sellwood and the Woodstock area is because the three bridges, you've got that gorgeous bikeway, the Springwater on the Willamette, which takes you from the steel bridge all the way down to Sellwood, and the connection from Sellwood over to the Springwater corridor that takes you out past Gresham. That connection will be completed. The three bridges over the railroad tracks will be completed. So you'll have quite this fabulous way to, I mean, I think that the bike commute from Sellwood is the nicest commute you could possibly ever imagine. I mean, it's stunningly beautiful. You're on the river. I find that when we take people, most of the rides the summer cycle rides that we do at least one trip down on the waterfront, and people really love it. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to be, and it's fast. It's pretty accessible for most parts of Portland. So I'm excited about next year. Although we just printed everything for Northeast, and we're already thinking about the next area. It's kind of a bad thing, but so yeah, we will cover the entire city. Yes.
Are you going to try doing the commute to work rides this year? Not sure they work out so well.
Commute to work rides. Oh yes, the guided commutes. I didn't have that in here. I didn't even mention that because it was really bad. It's a really bad program. It was a great idea, and it's one that we've tried over the years, and we tried to figure out a different way to do it. Basically, what we want to do is start some rides in the neighborhood and then take people to downtown or the Lloyd District. So we had them at 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the morning to start people out. And so I'd get out there at 7 o'clock and was ready with my bike, and we had a volunteer come with, and nobody showed. So we had 16 rides and 5 participants. So we could have carried them all in our panniers with us. So we decided not to do that, but we're looking at another program this year for getting families on bikes. A lot of the barriers are people don't know how to carry things, and specifically they don't know how to carry kids safely. They aren't going to spend $300 on a trailer, a bike trailer for a kid, to discover that their kid hates it or that they don't like to do it. So we're going to do a couple of rides to see if we can encourage families to go, and we'll see how that goes. I mean, the thing that's important in any of this kind of work is to take some risks. We weren't sure how well this program would run in the city of Portland. We just didn't know. We knew that the Travel Smart model worked in Germany, it worked in Australia, it worked all over the place, but we weren't sure how it was going to work here. So we needed to take the risk, and it's kind of an expensive little risk there to take. But we did, and trying out something new. The guided commutes, we wanted to try it out, see how it was going to go. The Women on Bikes program, we wanted to try it out last year. Was a very positive approach, and we got a very good success. So it's about taking some risks. You're not going to know if something works unless you try it. You can get some educated guesses and figure out what has worked in other places, but one of the things that's so wonderful about working for the Office of Transportation is they're not terribly risk averse. Risk averse in that we don't want to waste city money. We don't want to take our resources and use them for something that is not going to be terribly effective. But we're willing to try, and I think that that's very important. So we tried, and no. We're not going to do that. Yes?
I was wondering if Kaiser and Providence are signed on to be sponsors for this next round in Northeast.
Kaiser Permanente is actually sponsoring the Tento Express and is now going to be producing, helping to produce all of our walking maps. So we love Kaiser. Kaiser Permanente, they're our friend. We love them. They, as I said, they get the connection between healthy living, and it's not just about their bottom line. I mean, they understand that it's good for community building. They want to be a part of the community. It's been a very positive relationship. They've also done some health testing with folks in the hub projects to see if this changes their health. We haven't been able to quite work it out where we have enough people to create a study, a real research study with that. So, and in terms of Providence, you know, they are stretched pretty thin right now. They're building that enormous campus, and so they just couldn't do it this year. They still are sponsoring Bridge Pedal, which, you know, for those who are unfamiliar with Bridge Pedal, last year they had 20,000 bike riders going over the 10 Portland bridges. It's, you know, we close interstate freeways for bikes. It's the most remarkable thing. And that's their signature event. They contribute quite a bit to that. So that they're not supporting this, but they're, you know, we're still working with them on other kinds of projects. And we're always looking for sponsors. This year, Kryptonite is donating a significant number of pretty good locks for our summer cycle rides and our women on bike rides, so that we can give them out as incentives and little raffle prizes, you know. So that's pretty good. So we're always looking for opportunities for cash. We're always looking for cash. What else? Anything else? Yes.
So how are the barriers identified when you're looking at areas, and are they specifically engineered, like the package is engineered for the specific areas you're working on?
You mean the what's included in the kits?
Yeah, and then like are they based on the barriers that you've identified?
Not really.
Walking?
Not really, because what we find in some of the research that we've been able to look at from our North Portland project, we did some very in-depth studies, and we haven't finalized the report yet, but when we do, we'll be able to share that with you. What we find is time is a big factor. People have this crazy amount of, they think that, what we say is if it's a 3-mile trip, you can go by bike. If it's more than 3-mile trip, it's a little bit more of a stretch for people. People do it. I do it every day. My commute trip is 3.5 miles. Not a big deal. But people think a trip of 3 miles takes too long. Now, if you're riding my speed, which is really pokey, it's 18 minutes. You know, how fast do you need to go? You know, for a 3-mile trip. I mean, how fast do you need to go? Most trips are under 3 miles. So when you look at a walking trip, if it's a mile, if it's more than a mile, probably not going to walk. So it's kind of like a 15-minute rule. If taking another mode takes you more than 15 minutes extra, you're probably not going to engage. You're probably not going to do it. So when we look at what's bikeable, when we look at what's walkable, that's sort of our measure. The barriers in terms of, you know, clothing and facilities aren't so important. What's most important is perception of safety. We know bike riding and we know walking is really, really super safe. As there have been an astronomical increase in cycling and walking in Portland, the crash rates for bicycling have remained pretty much the same over the years. So we know it's a pretty safe activity to engage in. I mean, any crash is not a good thing. But we know it's a pretty safe activity. It's really getting at people's perception of safety, which is why the programs that we engage in are for newbie riders. I mean, you know, they don't really pay me to go and take a bike ride with my friends on these recreational rides. Although that would sort of be fun. We have to tailor our materials to the timid, the new to town. And so while we don't tailor the information for that particular neighborhood as much, we know that those are barriers pretty much everywhere and what those barriers tend to be. Is there anything else?
Thank you very much, Linda.
Sure, you're welcome. Oh, and I have handouts if people wanted to take the presentation with them. And you can find the final report on the web at, and it's on here of where that is. So, actually, let me give you the bigger one because you have more on that side. You can take this here.